Well, hello there. Welcome to another episode of George Reviews. And this video we'll be talking about Crash.
Fucking pig!
I say just stop talking! It's quite a mouth you have.
No, not that Crash. But the 1996 Cronenberg classic, Crash, starring James Spader and Holly Hunter. So I'm a Cronenberg newbie, which means I've not really seen much from him in the past. He's a director I've heard of, and I've heard infamous things from his past films, such as The Fly, Videodrome, Naked Lunch, so on, and Crash, of course, being one of his most infamous films. I'm aware of its reputation, and this was the first time I saw Crash. I've seen it only the once, and it's going to be kind of difficult for me to try to pin down what the film means and what it all means to me personally, and how to express the many uncomfortable emotions I was feeling during my entire experience watching Crash, but I'm going to give it my best and give it my try, so just bear with me. I really wanted to see Crash in anticipation for Cronenberg's newest film, Crimes of the Future. The one thing about Cronenberg I've heard is body horror. Like, he's infamous for body horror, and I'm not really sure if that means it's just a visual kind of experience without much plot, story, or character. And usually I'm not really into surface level horror, just horror for the sake of being horrific and being disgusting and terrifying. What I found with Crash, and beyond my own curiosity of what I thought the film was, is very much sexual obsession and very primal rawness to it all, to the film, to the structure, and to the sex scenes. They weren't really titillating sex scenes. They were very kind of disgusting in a good way. I guess they are titillatingly disgusting in a way. But why don't we get into what Crash is about? And trying to describe this film is almost a feat within itself, from experiencing the film, getting through the film in one piece, not to be punny or anything. And so instead of trying to come up with my own synopsis, I'm just going to take a page and steal from IMDb. After getting into a serious car accident, a TV director discovers an underground subculture of scarred, omnisexual car crash victims who use car accidents and the raw sexual energy they produce to try to rejuvenate his sex life with his wife. Now, if that doesn't get you excited for this film, I'm not sure what will. But Crash is very much a character observation piece of raw sexual obsession and this kind of subculture underground of these people obsessed with famous car crashes of celebrities and kind of using that in a way to kind of climax sexually. And James Spader's character, James Ballard, really gets kind of sucked into the society after a major car crash that he gets into, and he becomes kind of obsessed with this little subculture, and to the point where it goes beyond sexuality and sexual lust and what it means to be in love. None of that really enters into the equation of these people. It's more a visceral attraction to danger and trauma. At least that's what I was kind of getting throughout the film. And even though it doesn't outright kind of tell you what the film layers are about, which is good, it's very subtle and very nuanced in that way. Crash really just takes you into these lives. It kind of crashes right into you. And thrusts you into these lives of these very degenerate, perverted people who get off on car crashes and get off on scars and get off on endangering themselves. It has these many levels, I don't want to say of debauchery, but of this really raw addiction that these people have. And the further we see through James Spader's character, the further that we go into the kind of rawness and the desperation of getting off on these car crashes is probably the best way I could put it. And like I said, this one is really difficult for me to kind of get into because I've only seen it the once, and I'm not really familiar with Cronenberg's aesthetic as a filmmaker, having only seen Eastern Promises before this. So this is my second run around with Mr. Cronenberg. and I'm not sure if I went a little too hard, a little too far on the edge of his filmography, because this one's a very tough nut to crack, in my opinion. I kind of get the obsession and the addiction these people go through, have entering the lives of these already perverted married couple, with James Spader and his wife, played by Deborah Unger. They're already pretty perverted and sexually addicted, to the point where they're talking about their sexual encounters with other people and what they'd like to do, even when they are fucking and having sex. And it was very, very interesting, and I was looking at a lot of things about this film before filming this review, and just trying to get into the mind of Cronenberg and what he was trying to go for. And obviously this film was very polarizing when it came out, to say the least. It was banned in cinemas. It was, especially in the UK and London. I'm surprised this film actually kind of got through over the years, and it's on a very beautiful Criterion Collection edition, which I purchased without seeing the film. And I'm really glad I did, because I really feel like this is a film you have to experience at least once, that you have to really just kind of go in, and as uncomfortable as it is and as unsettling as it is, it makes your skin crawl, for lack of a better term. It's just a really, really amazing experience. I really personally enjoyed the visceral disgust that I felt for this entire film. It was amazing, but it was also very, very hauntingly disturbing, and I just couldn't look away. Like a car crash, I just could not look away. And that's one of my main takeaways from experiencing this film. What I can do is talk about the many emotions and the many good qualities I feel the film exudes, especially with the performances. James Spader, Holly Hunter, Deborah Unger, Elias, Koteas, I think I'm pronouncing that right, and Rosanna Arquette. These are our main cast members, and they portray sexuality in a very interesting way, and they portray the desperation and the addiction in a very interesting way. And of course, James Spader fucking sells it. He's good at playing a creep, and he's definitely a creep in this film. Even before we see him in a car accident, he's just a major creep. And I really I enjoy James Spader a lot. Sex, Lies, and Videotape. From that all the way to fucking Boston Legal, even. He's always playing these very, very interesting characters that make you uncomfortable, that make you really question why you're following this character. But at the same time, he just brings a performance that is just mesmerizingly disturbing and disgusting, and the things he kind of goes through and the levels and lengths he goes to, injuring himself and hurting others in the process, is just very, very fascinating to me. And the way he just sells it, the way he walks after being in so many different car accidents, the way he kind of limps and walks, and just the way these accidents kind of affect him was really, really interesting. And everyone's performance, really, though he's get the majority of time spent with Spader's character, and I just kind of have to say he just completely sold it for me 100%. I'd be remiss to not even talk about the opening credits. They really kind of fall in and zoom in and kind of crash into you as you're experiencing this. And they're very cracked, metallic, kind of looking like they just got out of a car accident themselves. The opening titles, as they just kind of flash into you. And it's really rare to have a really good opening title sequence in film, I feel. And of course, this came out in '96, so that was a infamous time for opening title sequences, and this was just very unique and very purposeful, I felt, and just really amazing. And the cinematography is really, really, really brilliant. It's very close and intimate. We get your standard kind of close-ups, and we get really extreme close-ups. We get really interesting shots within the car window, and just shots of legs and body parts, and kind of just simultaneously coming into each other, literally. I just found the cinematography really beautiful in a very disturbing kind of way. As I've said, this film is beautiful, but it's also very disturbing. It's hard to look away from, and if you're a desensitized pervert like myself, you're really going to enjoy the aesthetics that Crash brings. I don't have too many notes on this film. It's very erotic, obviously. I kind of put that a lot of times, and it almost kind of verges, well, not really verges, but it does run into the danger of having a lot of sex scenes being kind of repetitive in a way, but it's the way that they portray the sex scenes, and they kind of portray them into the plot. It's all about these people trying to climax, trying to have that experience, that's going through all these dangerous kind of situations and car accidents, and that's kind of not the main focus, but it definitely drives the plot and the characters along. And even Cronenberg himself said something to that extent, that the sex scenes are about these people trying to reach climax after these horrific car accidents, and it's just, I just found that very interesting. And the sex scenes aren't like all terribly disturbing. They are very erotic, and they are kind of hot. I'm not gonna lie. So they're kind of hot. The way they're kind of portrayed, it's not really like pornography, though it does ride an interesting line between art and pornography, I think, in the style of the film. Really, there's a lot of art in there. There's a lot of storytelling in here. There's a lot of character building in here, I felt. And, it's really, the sex scenes really kind of show you those layers, that it kind of unravel the characters in a lot of different ways, I felt. The sex scenes are erotic, but very primal and visceral and raw, and they don't feel too staged. They don't feel too over the top. Even Cronenberg himself said that he felt some of the sex scenes were a little bit restrained, and if this is him being restrained, then I don't know what him being unleashed would look like. I would be interested in seeing that, of course, but it's a very interesting kind of line he's writing within this film. It's a very interesting kind of, what is too much to show and what isn't enough to show. One sex scene in particular kind of divided a lot of audiences. Some people thought it was too much. And this is taking back in the mid-90s, where sexuality was kind of more taboo, as it is more than it is now, which is, it's more kind of free. It's more kind of free to express, as long as no one's like hurting anyone. Some audiences were pretty divided on this. Some people thought it went too far, and other people said it didn't go far enough. Especially in the LGBT kind of community, there is a man-on-man sex scene. I guess spoilers, but I mean, it's not really much of a spoiler. It's not much of a surprise for a film like Crash, where like almost every scene is a sex scene. Maybe not almost every scene, but a lot of scenes are in a very sexual nature, and very sexual and very violent nature. But all that just kind of wrapped and put into this kind of box that unleashes onto itself is very engaging as a film, and it's one that I just could not get enough of. It's one that's interested me and took me on a ride, on a Crash, and I know, forgive my lack of vocabulary of trying to praise this film, because I really loved everything about this film. I thought the pacing was amazing. I thought the performances really just kind of took me through everything. There's definitely a lot of payoff in terms of the climax and the end. It ends in a very dark way, but maybe not so dark for these characters, but I think for an audience member, I found it pretty fucked up in a lot of ways, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the fucked upness of Crash. I think it's just brilliantly done in a very fucked up way. But all in all, I really loved Crash. I think it's definitely a film you should experience once. Sexually erotic, but disturbingly fucked up kind of experience that this is going to give you. It gives you very mixed emotions. I was very uncomfortable throughout, yet I was enthralled at the same time, and those are very two strong emotions that I got out of this, and I wish I could unravel more of the thematic story beats and what, some of the messages are underneath, and I'm sure there are lots of great video essays out there I will definitely be checking out. and maybe I'll do a deeper dive on this in the future, depending on what else I get out of it on future viewings. But all in all, I thought Crash was great, and I'm glad I finally got to see it. But I want to rate Crash 4 stars for now. It might go higher, it might go lower. I'm not really sure. It's really hard to kind of rate this kind of film, and it's kind of hard to get a clear understanding. I mean, I kind of feel like I have a clear understanding what Cronenberg was going for with underground sexuality, or not even underground sexuality, but, you know, underground sex culture and trauma, are the main takeaways I got from this, because I was definitely traumatized after seeing it. And from a film from 1996, which is very 90s, it's very 90s in its aesthetic and its style, but it's still, I think this is one of these important films that need to be preserved and need to be seen. And I really feel like there's not enough talk about this film, because I really didn't know much about it going into it, and even though coming out of it, I don't feel like I got a full grasp on the film. I feel like I got enough to really appreciate it. So, but that's going to be my thoughts, my jumbled thoughts and opinions on the film Crash. But what did you think about Crash? Have you seen it? I'm talking about the Crash from 1996, not that bullshit 2004 one. That one Best Picture that everyone hates. But whatever your thoughts, please let me know down there in the comments. Please like and subscribe if you'd be so kind. My name is George Ray. Thank you so much for checking out this review. Please remember to stay calm, stay cool, keep chill, be safe out there on the road, and embrace great cinema. I'll see you on the next video. Until then, peace out.